Canopus, also designated Alpha Carinae, is the brightest star in the southern constellation of Carina, and the second brightest star in the nighttime sky, after Sirius. Canopus's visual magnitude is -0.72, and it has an absolute magnitude of -5.71. Canopus is a bright giant of spectral type A9, so it is essentially white when seen with the naked eye. It is located in the far southern sky, at a year 2000 declination of -52 degrees 42, and a right ascension of 06h 24.0 meters. Its name is generally considered to originate from the mythological Canopus, who was a navigator for Menelaus, king of Sparta. Observational history. In Indian Vedic literature, the star Canopus is associated with the sage Agastya, one of the ancient rishis. Agastya the star is said to be the cleanser of waters, and its rising coincides with the calming of the waters of the Indian Ocean. It is considered the son of Pelasthya, son of Brahma. Canopus was not visible to the ancient Greeks and Romans. It was, however, visible to the ancient Egyptians. Hence, Aratus did not write of the star as it remained below the horizon, while Eratosthenes and Ptolemy, observing from Alexandria, did, calling it Canobos. The Navajo named it Maibizo. The Bedouin people of the Negev and Sinai also knew it as Suhal, and used it and Polaris as the two principal stars for navigation at night. Due to the fact that it disappears below the horizon in those regions, it became associated with a changeable nature, as opposed to always visible Polaris, which was circumpolar and hence steadfast. It is also referred to by its Arabic name, given by Islamic scientists in the 7th century AD, called the Old Man of the South Pole in Chinese. Canopus appears on the medieval Chinese manuscript the Dunhuang star chart, despite not being visible from the Chinese capital of Chang'an. The Chinese astronomer Yixing had journeyed south to chart Canopus and other far southern stars in 724 AD. However, it was already mentioned by Sima Qian in the 2nd century BC, drawing on sources from the Warring States period, as the southern counterpart of Sirius. Bright stars were important to the ancient Polynesians for navigation between the many islands and atolls of the Pacific Ocean. Low on the horizon, they acted as stellar compasses to assist mariners in charting courses to particular destinations. Canopus served as the southern wingtip of a great bird constellation called Manu, with Sirius as the body and Procyon the northern wingtip, which divided the Polynesian night sky into two hemispheres. The Hawaiian people called Canopus Kealiokona, the chief of the southern expanse. It was one of the stars used by Hawaii Low and Key when they traveled to the Southern Ocean. The Maori people of New Zealand, Aotearoa, had several different names for Canopus. Ariki was known as a solitary star that appeared in the east, prompting people to weep and chant. They also named it Atutahi, Aotahi or Atuatahi, stand alone. Its solitary nature indicates it is a tapu star, as tapu people are often solitary. Its appearance at the beginning of the Maru Arawa season foretells the coming winter. Light rays to the south indicate a cold, wet winter, and to the north foretell a mild winter. Food was offered to the star on its appearance. This name has several different mythologies attached to it as well. One story tells of how Atutahi was left outside of the basket representing the Milky Way when Tain wove it. Another related myth surrounding the star says that Atutahi was the firstborn child of Rangi, who refused to enter the Milky Way and so turned it sideways and rose before it. The same name is used for other stars and constellations throughout Polynesia. Kapi Poto, short horizon, referred to the fact that it rarely sets from the vantage point of New Zealand. Kauanga was the name for Canopus only when it was the last star visible before sunrise. The Swana people of Botswana knew Canopus as Naka, appearing late in winter skies. It heralded increasing winds and a time when trees lose their leaves. Stock owners knew it was time to the sheep with rams. To the XAM-speaking Bushmen of South Africa, P. Canopus and Sirius signaled the appearance of termites and flying ants. They also believed stars had the power to cause death and misfortune, and they would pray to Sirius and Canopus in particular to impart good fortune or skill. The Kalapalo people of Mato Grosso state in Brazil saw Canopus and Procyon as Kofonga duck, with Castor and Pollux representing his hands. The asterism's appearance signified the coming of the rainy season and increase in manioc, a food staple fed to guests at feasts. Canopus traditionally marked the rudder of the ship Argo Navis. English explorer Robert Hughes brought it to the attention of European observers in his 1592 work Tractatus de Globis, along with Arcana and Alpha Centauri, noting, "Now, therefore, there are but 3 stars of the first magnitude that I could perceive in all those parts which are never seen here in England. The first of these is that bright star in the stern of Argo which they call Canopus. The second is in the end of Eridanus. The third is in the right foot of the Centaur." Visibility. In the southern hemisphere, P. Canopus and Sirius are both visible high in the sky simultaneously, and reach the meridian just 21 minutes apart. Brighter than first magnitude, P. Canopus can be seen by naked eye already in the early twilight. Most visible in the southern hemisphere summer, P. Canopus culminates at midnight on December 27th and at 9 p.m. on February the 11th. It is a circumpolar star when seen from points that have latitudes south of 37 degrees 18 est, for example, Victoria and Tasmania, Australia, Auckland and south of it, New Zealand, Bahia Blanca, Argentina, and Valdivia, Chile, and south of these cities in South America. Since Canopus is so far south in the sky, it never rises in mid or far northern latitudes. In theory, the northern limit of visibility is latitude 37 degrees 18 north. This is just south of Athens, Richmond, and San Francisco, and very close to Seville and Agrigento. It is almost exactly the latitude of Lick Observatory on Mount Hamilton, California, from which it is readily visible because of the effects of elevation and atmospheric refraction, which add another degree to its apparent altitude. Under ideal conditions it has been spotted as far north as latitude 37 degrees 31 from the Pacific coast. Another northernmost record of visibility came from Mount Nemrut in Turkey, latitude 37 degrees 59. It is more easily visible in places such as the Gulf Coast and Florida, and the island of Crete, where the best season for viewing it around 9 p.m. is during late January and early February. Canopus has Abv Color Index of plus 0.15, where 0 is a blue-white, indicating it is essentially white, although has been described as yellow-white. Its spectral type has been recorded as F0 and more recently A9. It has less yellow than Alpha Procyon, whose color indexes have been measured at 0.22 and 0.42 respectively. It may be that some observers have perceived it as yellow-tinged owing to its being located low in the sky and hence subject to atmospheric effects. Properties. Before the launch of the Hippocos satellite telescope, distance estimates for the star varied widely, from 96 light-years to 1,200 light-years. Had the latter distance been correct, P. Canopus would have been one of the most luminous stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Hippocos established Canopus as lying 310 light-years from the Solar System. This is based on its 2007 parallax measurement of 10.43 plus or minus 0.53 mass. The difficulty in measuring Canopus's distance stemmed from its unusual nature. Canopus has an Mk spectral type of A9 although it is sometimes treated as F0 on account of its high luminosity, and such stars are rare and poorly understood. They are stars that can be either in the process of evolving to or away from red giant status. This in turn made it difficult to know how intrinsically bright Canopus is, and therefore how far away it might be. Direct measurement was the only way to solve the problem. Canopus is too far away for Earth-based parallax observations to be made, so the star's distance was not known with certainty until the early 1990s. The photospheric temperature of Canopus has been estimated at 7,350 plus or minus 30 K. Canopus is a strong source of X-rays, which are probably produced by its corona, magnetically heated to around 15 million K. The temperature has likely been stimulated by fast rotation combined with strong convection percolating through the star's outer layers. The star's surface temperature is too cool to account for the X-rays. Infrared interferometry was used to calculate its angular diameter at 6.93 plus or minus 0.15 mas. Combined with distance calculated by Hippocos, this gives it a diameter of 71.4 plus or minus 0.4 times that of the Sun. If it were placed at the center of the solar system, it would extend 90% of the way to the orbit of Mercury. Canopus is the most intrinsically bright star within approximately 700 light-years, and it has been the brightest star in Earth's sky during 3 different epochs over the past 4 million years. Other stars appear brighter only during relatively temporary periods, during which they are passing the solar system at a much closer distance than Canopus. About 90,000 years ago, Sirius moved close enough that it became brighter than Canopus, and that will remain the case for another 210,000 years. But in 480,000 years, P Canopus will once again be the brightest, and will remain so for a period of about 510,000 years. Canopus was previously claimed to be a member of the Scorpius-Centaurus Association. However, it is not located near the subgroups of that association, and has not been included as a SCOSEN member in kinematic studies that used Hippocos astrometric data. At present, P Canopus is not thought to be a member of any nearby young stellar groups. In 2014, astronomer Eric Mamajek reported that an extremely magnetically active M-dwarf, situated 1.16 degrees south of Canopus, appears to share common proper motion with the bright star. The projected separation of the M-dwarf to MASSJ 06234738-5,351,131 is approximately 1.9 parsecs. However, despite this large separation, it is still within the estimated tidal radius for the massive star Canopus. Etymology and cultural significance. Alpha Carinae is the star's Bayer designation. The name Canopus is a Latinization of the ancient Greek name Kappa Alpha Nu Omega Beta Omicron Sigma. Canobos are recorded in Claudius Ptolemy's Almagest. Eratosthenes used this spelling, however Hippocos wrote it as Kappa Alpha Nu Omega Pi Omicron Sigma. John Flamsteed wrote Canobus, as did Edmund Halley in his 1679 Catalogus Stellarum Australium. The name has 2 common derivations, both listed in Richard Hinckley Allen's seminal star names, the Lauren meaning, and one which is less common. All are matters of conjecture. One from the legend of the Trojan War, where the constellation Carina was once part of the now obsolete constellation of Argo Navis, which represented the ship used by Jason and the Argonauts. The brightest star in the constellation was given the name of a ship's pilot from another Greek legend, Canopus, pilot of Menelaus's ship on his quest to retrieve Helen of Troy after she was taken by Paris, a second from the Egyptian Coptic Kahinub, which refers how Canopus would have appeared near the horizon in ancient Egypt, reddened by atmospheric extinction from the position. A ruined ancient Egyptian port named Canopus lies near the mouth of the Nile, site of the Battle of the Nile. A third is its possible origin from the Semitic root GNB, from which the Arabic word for south, Janub, is derived. The southeastern wall of the Kaaba in Mecca is aligned with the rising point of Canopus, and is also named Janub. In 2016, the International Astronomical Union organized a working group on star names to catalogue and standardize proper names for stars. The WGSN's first bulletin of July 2016 included a table of the first 2 batches of names approved by the WGSN, which included Canopus for this star. It is now so entered in the eye.It catalogue of star names. Other names: Africa. An Egyptian priestly poet in the time of Thutmose III mentions the star as Karbana, the star which pours his light in a glance of fire, when he disperses the morning dew. Under the Ptolemies, the star was known as Ptolemaeon, and its acronycal rising marked the date of the Ptolemaic festival, which was held every 4 years, from 262 to 145 BC. In the traditional Kosa calendar, May is named Ukanzibi. Americas, the Navajo observed the star and named it Maibizo. Asia, it is also personified as the show star. In Japan, P. Canopus is known as Meraboshi and Ruginesi. In ancient Hindu astronomy and astrology, P. Canopus is named Agasti or Agastu. In traditional Tibetan astronomy and astrology, P. Canopus is named Kama Rishi. Kalila Odamna, an influential Pahlavi book of animal fables, was later known as Anva-I Suhaili of the Lights of Canopus. Australia. Canopus was identified as the moiety ancestor to some Kori people in southeastern Australia. The Burong people of northwestern Victoria recalled that War was the brother of Warpeel, and that he brought fire from the heavens and introduced it to mankind. His wife was Kologaluric War. The Peert Kopan Newt people of western Victoria told of Crow falling in love with a queen, Nyanga, wedge-tailed eagle, and her 6 attendants. His advances spurned. He hears that the women are foraging for grubs and so transforms himself into a grub. When the women dig him out, he changes into a giant and carries her off. The Kulin people knew Canopus as Loantuka. Objects in the sky were also associated with states of being for some tribes. The Walewoon of northern New South Wales knew Canopus as Wumba, deaf, alongside Mars as Gumba, fat, and Venus as Gundigendua, you are laughing. Tasmanian Aboriginal law held that Canopus was Dromedine, the brother of Moni. The two fought and fell out of the sky, with Dromedine falling into Louisa Bay in southwest Tasmania. Middle East. Canopus was known to the ancient Mesopotamians and given the name Nunki, and represented the city of Eridu in the 3 stars each Babylonian star. Catalogues and later Mul happen around 1100 BC. Today, the star Sigma Sagittarii is known by the common name Nunki. An occasional name seen in English is Sohail, or the feminine Sohaila. In Turkish is Suhail, or the feminine Suhaila. For the Arabic name for several bright stars, Suhail, and Canopus was known as Suhail in medieval times. Alternate spellings include Suhail, Suhailon, Suhail, 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 Shul, Sohail, Sohail, Sahil, Suhail, Suhail, Sithal, and Sihil. An alternate name was Wazn, weight, or Hadar, ground, possibly related to its low position near the horizon. Hence comes its name in the Alphonsine tables. Suhail Ponderosus, a Latinization of Al-Suhail al-Wazn. Its Greek name was revived during the Renaissance. Polynesia. but the people of the Society Islands had two names for Canopus, as did the Tuamotu people. The Society Islanders called Canopus Aurua Ituputai festivity, whence comes the flux of the sea, and Taurua Nui Otehiti Apatoa, great festivity of the border of the south, and the Tuamotu people called the State Taurari and Mareri Tate Avahi, the latter said to be the true name for the former, he who stands alone. Among New Zealand Maori, Canopus is a circumpolar star called Atutahi. Atutahi was considered so sacred that he stood alone outside the Milky Way. It was an important weather predictor and indicated when soils were ready for planting. Te Takeo Atutahi referred to the star's role in leading Te Pungarai, the Southern Cross, role in navigation, to anyone living in the northern hemisphere, but far enough south to see the star. It served as a southern pole star. This lasted only until magnetic compasses became common. In modern times, P. Canopus serves another navigational use. Canopus's brightness and location well off the ecliptic make it popular for space navigation. Many spacecraft carry a special camera known as a P. Canopus star tracker, plus a sun sensor for attitude determination. The effects of precession will take Canopus within 10 degrees of the south celestial pole around the year 14,000 AD. Modern legacy. Canopus appears on the flag of Brazil, symbolizing the state of Goiás. 2 U.S. Navy submarine tenders have been named after Canopus, the first serving from 1922 to 1942 and the second serving from 1965 to 1994. In popular culture, the book series Canopus in Argos by Nobel Prize in Literature winning author Doris Lessing, which portray a number of societies at different stages of development, over a great period of time. The focus is on accelerated evolution being aided by advanced species for less advanced species and societies. The fictional desert planet Arrakis, featured in the Dune series of novels by Frank Herbert, is the third planet orbiting Canopus. In the MMORPG EVE Online, the titular wormhole that led to the galaxy in which the player's experience takes place was located in the Canopus system.